So today we're only going to focus on volume. Next week on Tuesday, we're only going to focus on surface area. And then on Thursday, we're going to close it up looking at complex problems of both surface area and volume. So immediately, the first thing I want you guys to tell me is, what was that general formula? What did I tell you guys the general formula was for volume? Itandile, I'm gonna lower your hand because it was up from before. So if you do want to answer, raise it again. And then yes, immediately, do you have the answer for us?
Afternoon, ma'am.
Hi.
So the formula for volume is length times breadth times height, and then the area, the general formula is the area of base times the height for a triangle.
So okay, let me help you. The general formula for volume is the area of your base of your 3D shape multiplied by the height of your 3D shape. Now, length times breadth times height. I know everybody tends to think this is the general formula, but this is it's actually a specific formula for when we are dealing with a rectangular prism. When I talk about a general formula, I'm talking about a formula that can be applied to every single shape. You with me?
Yes, ma'am.
So the general formula for volume is area of the base multiplied by the height. Now I want you to
Yes,
see
ma'am.
how it will work with triangular prisms as well. If I have a triangular prism that's standing up like this, I want you to be aware of the fact that whenever we pick our base in a prism,
Um.
we're, we're yes,
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I was saying hi to my mom. Sorry.
no problem. I thought you were telling me. Cool. So whenever we're picking what our base is, we are always going to pick the shape at the end of our rectangles. So we have these
Yes,
two
ma'am.
identical faces that are opposite each other. That is always going to be our base. So I want you to see how this formula over here will apply to every single 3D object that you guys will be worried about in grade 8. So here we're going to pick this triangle as our base. Now I know it might not seem like it's the base because I know when you guys think base, you think the bottom. But when
Yes.
we're doing volume, our base in a prism is always going to be the shape that has those two identical shapes on either end. You with me?
Yes. Yes,
Cool.
ma'am.
So this is my general formula. You've now given me the formula for the volume of my rectangular prism, and you've told me it's length times breadth times height. So let
Yes.
us calculate the volume of this rectangular prism. Help me immediately.
So, ma'am, we're gonna say 45 centimeters times by 17 centimeters
Mm-hmm.
times by 20 centimeters,
Mm-hmm.
which is then gonna equal um it's gonna equal one 15,300, ma'am.
15,300 what?
Centimeters cubed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Cubed is
yes.
correct. I'm just double checking. Times 17 times 20. There we go. 15,300 centimeters cubed. Now, we've only done the area of the little building of my house. And I'm saying area. We've only done the volume of the little building of my house. Now, what we want to do is we also want to calculate the volume of this roof. So, Emilia, I can hear you're still with me. Do you know how to calculate the volume of this roof?
So, ma'am, we're gonna say area of the base
Mhm.
times height.
Okay, so it's going to be area of base multiplied by height. Yes, and then what?
Then we're gonna say
Tell me what is
so
my base.
the base is, I think it's 18 centimeters, ma'am.
No. So remember, when I talk about a base, I'm talking about a base face. So when I talk about a base, it's a whole shape. So when I ask you what is the base, I want you to tell me, ma'am, it's this rectangle here on the right. Ma'am, it's the rectangle here on the left. Ma'am, it's the triangle. I want you to tell me what is the base and what's your answer.
I
Is it
think it's
this?
the rectangle one.
So this one that I've colored in.
Yes, ma'am. I think.
Okay. So remember what I said. If we have a prism, what I want you guys to know is a prism is really two identical faces connected by rectangles. That is all that a prism is. And I'm going to try and see if I have anything that's a triangular prism. No. So when we talk about the base of a prism, I want you guys to know that you always should pick the base, especially of a triangular prism. Your base is always going to be your triangle. Okay, immediately.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now I've told you that the base is actually the triangle. So let's deal with this one little bit at a time. I need to calculate the area of my base. How do I calculate the area of my base?
So, ma'am, we're gonna say half base times height,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then times the other h, ma'am.
So now
So then,
this is where our big H comes in. So this is obviously the height of my triangle, and this is the height of my entire prism.
yes. So
Mm-hmm.
then we're gonna say a half times by the 18 centimeters.
Mm-mm. No. What is the base of my
Oh,
triangle?
the rectangle, ma'am.
So it is the rectangle, and what's that length?
45 centimeters, ma'am.
It is 45. Okay, I'm gonna have to cut that off a little bit. Okay, it is 45. So the base of my triangle is 45, and I see Tyra in the chat with the answer. Beautiful. It is this 45 centimeter line over here. So that's my base. What is my height of my triangle?
It's 20 centimeters, ma'am.
Okay, tell me where you're getting 20 from. Are you getting it from here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Immediately, I want you to remember right now we are dealing with the area of the base. And when I talk about the area of the base, maybe I should even modify this to say that it's actually the area of the base shape. Okay. So right now we are calculating, just ignore this height. Okay. Ignore your big height. Right now we are calculating the area of our base shape, which is the triangle. So if we were looking at the triangle by itself, so literally I want you to ignore everything else that you see. We're looking at only this triangle. What is the height of that triangle?
18 centimeters, ma'am.
It is 18. So I want you to be super careful, and this is why I differentiate between the big H and the small h. The small h over here represents the height of my triangle, but the big H represents the height over here
Of the whole
of
shape.
this. There you go. So we've got that now. But there is something missing. I'm looking for my big height. And I want you to try and think about it. What is my big height gonna be?
I think it's gonna be the 20 centimeters one.
Right? So it would have been 20 centimeters if our triangle had been the other way around. I want you to think of this, taking just this triangular prism and putting it flat so that the triangle was down. Do you see that this over here is actually what the height is?
Yes, I see. Cause
Does that make sense?
yes, ma'am.
Because think about it. If we're saying that the triangle is our base, let's take this shape and put the triangle at the bottom. That little purple line I've circled is now my big height just of the triangular prism. Are you seeing that?
Yes, ma'am.
So I want you to be so super careful when you do these questions because it's so easy. And I almost actually agreed with you that this was the height because it's so easy to confuse the measurements when there are compound shapes like this, where it's two 3D objects placed together or placed on top of each other. So, whenever you're dealing with questions like these, I want you to try super hard to look at it in isolation. Even if you have to take like another piece of paper and block that rectangular prism at the bottom so that you know you're not dealing with that shape, you're only dealing with your rectangular prism. If that makes your life easier, then that's what you need to do, just so that you're able to identify which measurements belong to which shapes. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, we said our big height. What is the big height of our no triangular prism?
That's sure.
Do you think you know that purple line I've circled? Do you think you know the length of it?
No, not really. No.
Okay, let me show you. This is where our properties come in. You're seeing that this line is 17 centimeters.
Yes, ma'am.
It means this line over here is 17 centimeters. It is a rectangle. Okay. If this line is 17 centimeters, are you seeing that it means this line over here must be 17?
Yes, ma'am. Because the sides of a rectangle are equal.
There you go. And not all sides, but opposite sides of a rectangle.
Opposite sides.
Mhm. So, what is my big height?
17, ma'am.
17. Beautiful. Um, do this
So
math
then
for me and let me know what you're getting. 45, 8, no, not 8, 18, and 17.
5, 10,
Does anybody have the answer for me?
6,885, ma'am.
There you go.
Yes.
6885. What is my units?
Centimeters cubed, ma'am.
Centimeters cubed. Tyra, be careful. Make sure that you multiply it by a half. So I see what your issue is there. Your answer was not multiplied by a half. Okay, so now, immediately, we're almost done with this question. I actually don't know if you wanted to answer the whole question, but here you are, anyways. So we have both of our volumes. We have the volume of my rectangular prism, and we have the volume of my triangular prism. To get the
Yes,
volume
ma'am.
of the whole shape, what do we have to do?
I think we have to add them up.
That's 100% correct. So the volume of my house is going to be equals to 15,300 plus 6,885. Tell me what we're getting there. Unati, you are correct.
We get 22,185 centimeters cubed.
centimeters cubed. Thank you very much, Imitli, for answering that one with us.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have any questions, please, please, please do not hesitate to ask. What I want us to take away from this is whenever you have a triangular prism, you are always using the triangle as your base. If you're using this formula, remember, guys, we can also use this formula from the very beginning for our triangular prisms. I don't, because I cannot for the life of me memorize all of these formulas. It's a lot more easy for me when I take the area of my base times my height and then I modify it, because now I know, okay, my base is a triangle, area of the base will be half base times height multiplied by my big height. Okay, so you could have started with that formula I've highlighted in purple over there. That would have been okay as well. But when you're using a triangular prism and you're using our general formula, you're starting with that. Your base is always going to be the triangle in the triangular prism. Okay, also Lakeisha, I did see your message. That's okay. Don't stress. Um, Maybe give me some thumbs ups. Let me know how are we feeling about this. Here we go. Glad to see us understanding. Now, they've told us to use pi as 3,14. And they've told us that the volume of the cylinder is 157 feet cubed. They've given us the diameter of the circle in my cylinder, and they've told me it's 5.2 feet. What are we going to do? The first thing I should probably tell you is, what are we calculating? They want us to calculate this big height. So they want us to calculate this height. The first thing I have to do is I have to be able to know, okay, they've given me the volume. That means I can create an equation. I know my volume is going to be equal to the area of my base times the height of my shape. The area of my base is a circle. So the area of this circle is going to be pi r squared. And then we have it multiplied by the height. Okay. They've now also given me what my volume is. So I'll keep volume in there for now. What I want you guys to see is that I know what my volume is and I can figure out what my radius is. And that will leave me with only one unknown in this equation, which is my big height. So I'm going to substitute and then I'm going to manipulate this equation until I can solve for my big height. So let us go from here. They've told us our volume is 157 feet cubed, so we'll just leave it as 157. They've told us to use pi as 3,14. They've told us our diameter is 5,2. So if you didn't know, my diameter is equals to 2 times my radius. So my formula calls for the radius. So if I have that my diameter is 5,2, it means that my radius can be solved with this equation. And tell me, guys, what are you getting for our radius? Yes, Imihle.
I get 2,6, ma'am.
Beautiful. 2,6. Thank you. Imihle, did you want to just answer that one or everything from here?
Just that one, ma'am.
Okay. So now we know our radius is 2,6. So we're going to substitute that in. 2 comma 6 squared, and we're looking for our big height. Immediately, what am I seeing? I'm seeing that all of this is being multiplied to each other on this side. So what will your next step be? I want someone to tell me, type in the chat or raise your hand and tell me, what would your next step be over here? Yes, Itandile.
Ma'am, our next step would be to find H, our big H.
Mm-hmm.
Which, ma'am, I don't know how to find our big H.
Okay. So you've given us the very first step, which is to create Itandile. Can I? Sorry, I needed to mute you. I was echoing super, super badly. Um, what was I saying? You've given us the very first step, which is what we knew. We have to solve for the big H. But I want to know how. How do we solve for the big H? This now actually kind of has nothing to do with surface area or volume, but more so to do with your knowledge of equations. What is your next step going to be to solve for the big H? Itandile, if you know, you're more than welcome to speak now.
Ma'am, really, I don't know. I
Okay,
don't know how to solve for H.
that's fine. I saw Imithe had her hand up. Uh, Imithe, did you want to go?
Oh, I'm not too sure, but I think we have to transpose, ma'am. Like
Transpose what?
the H and the 157.
Okay,
Or
but do you see that my H, it's actually multiplication in between my H and the rest of my stuff?
yes, ma'am.
So, can I transpose when it's multiplication?
No,
Remember, we solve using inverse operations. So, if I know this is multiplication, what's the inverse of multiplication?
division, ma'am.
Division. So, I'm going to divide. And I've given you that first step. Maybe let's see if you can figure it out from here. Do you know what we're going to divide by?
So, ma'am, when I calculated the 3,14 times 2,6 squared,
Mhm.
I got 21,2264.
Okay, so you do know the next step. So let's go 157 is equals to, what was that answer you got?
21,2264.
226. So let's just round it up to 23 over here. And so now you've done simplification of your brackets, which is perfectly fine. Now, do you see that we have to divide by 21,23? What you could have done immediately is you didn't actually have to simplify. It depends really on your preference, but I would have just simplified by this entire bracket. All of these, I would have simplified, or I would have divided by all of this so that all my brackets cancel out. And then I would have just put this thing into my calculator. This 157 over 3,14, and then in brackets and another bracket. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
But do you see how what you've done is the same thing? You've just simplified your brackets first.
Yes, yes.
So I'm assuming you were busy doing your division. What did you get? What's your answer?
I got 7,40, ma'am.
7,40 is equals to your big H. Is that it, right?
Yes. Oh, and then you have to say therefore H is equal to 7,40 feet cubed.
And it's not going to be cubed, remember, because we just wanted the height of this cylinder. So height is just going to be given in normal units. So it's just going to be feet. You with me there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. So I see Tando is asking, can you divide by pi? We could have divided by pi. So look at what would have happened if we did divide by pi. If we divided by pi, I would have divided by 3 comma 14 on both sides, 3 comma 14. What would have happened is my pi and pi over here would have cancelled out. I would have gotten an answer over here. Tando, tell me what you're getting here when you put that into your calculator. And you would have still had 2 comma 6 squared h. Anybody can tell me the answer, not just Tando. 50. Are you sure? Let's try. That seems like too round of a number. 157 divided by 3.14. Oh my gosh, it is 50. Such a round number. Love that. Okay. Now, Tando, I want you to see what do we still have left. I still am trying to get h by itself. So do you see I would have had to divide by 2 comma 6 squared. So you could have simplified the 2 comma 6 squared and then just divided by a decimal, whatever decimal you would have gotten. But I'm just avoiding all those steps right now. So 2 comma 6 squared. Okay. Put this into your calculator and you would have gotten the exact same answer of 7 comma 40. So all correct equation rules, one method is just shorter than the other. But whatever makes sense to you is what I will always encourage you to do. If it makes sense to you to divide by one bracket at a time, then that's what you should do. If it makes sense to you to simplify it out of brackets and get a decimal and then divide, that's what you do. If it makes sense to you to just divide by both brackets at one time, then that's what you do. Even if it takes you longer, it's always better if you understand what you're doing. Because when you're just memorizing a short method, it's so easy to make a mistake and get lost and get everything wrong. So even if it's a longer method, use the method that you understand. Obviously, we'll work on understanding the shorter methods, but just for security's sake, in a test or an exam, use the longer method that you know you're going to get your marks with, instead of trying to use a short method and then you get no marks because you did it wrong. Cool. So that's that. That was these one of these types of questions where we were given the volume and we had to manipulate our formula and work around it to calculate one of our missing values. So maybe use your reactions, everybody. Let me know how we felt about this one. I also just realized Uma is probably not in class because it's very quiet on his side. Oh my gosh, Uma's here. Uma, why are you quiet? Who else do we have with us today? Everybody. Ma'am, I also noticed that. I always notice when Uma is quiet. Oh, I always notice when Uma is quiet. If Uma is not asking for the brain break by now, I know something's wrong. Something is going on. Yeah, I feel you, Naki. So we have our brain break here, Uma. Don't stress. But before we get to that, we have this guy over here that I want us to solve. Now, these are questions that I see all the time. There's so many ways you can do these questions. You could choose to break it up into these two rectangular prisms, or you could choose to break it up into those two rectangular prisms. Because we're doing only the volume, it's not going to be as complicated when we choose how we break up our shape. But what we must keep in mind is that I must know whatever shapes I break it up into, I need to know how to calculate the volume. So I need to know the length, the breadth, and the height of each one of my rectangular prisms. So let's attempt to do it this way. Actually, I don't like that way. This way just feels cleaner. Okay. So let's attempt to do it this way. So this is number 1 and this is number 2. Let's go and let's say volume of number 1 is going to be length times breadth times height. If we look at this rectangular prism over here, do I have enough measurements to tell me what the length is, what my breadth is, and what my height is? So I'm looking at it, and yes, do. Um, I do. Because this 4 over here is talking about this line. So not for the second one, let's see. I know I can calculate this. They've given me this. What am I missing? This part. We do have enough information, Uma. We do. So let's look at it. So length times base, or not base, length times breadth times height. What I want you guys to know is in a rectangular prism, it doesn't matter which one is which. So over here, let's say my length. Let's call this my length. Okay. Let's call my breadth this. And let's call my height. Let's say this over here is my height. Okay. So my length, easy, 5.4. They've given me that. My breadth is going to be 4. Why is it 4? Look at this number over here. They have given me the length of this line over here. They've given me the length of this line. This shape over here is a rectangle, meaning they're going to be equal on opposite sides, meaning this breadth on the top over here is going to also equal to 4. Then I'm looking at my height. My height is this measurement over here. Now, I don't have the measurement that they've just given me, but what I do know is that my height should be made up of this 7.3. So look at this. This is 7.3. So it should be made up of 7.3 plus the 5.1. So 7.3 plus 5.1 is going to give me the height of my first rectangular prism. Let me know. I'm going to stop here before I even carry on. Do we all understand where I got these measurements from? Now, I know you guys are probably all going to say yes, but I know somebody is here that is so super lost. There we go. Confused. Okay. Let's start over. I want you to, let's first talk about what measurements we've been given. You see that this is 5.4. Okay. They've given us that. What that means is that this measurement over here is going to be 5.4. It means that this measurement over here is going to be 5.4. Do you guys see that? Imihle, did you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, I understand where you got the 5.4 and
Mm-hmm,
the 4, ma'am. I
mm-hmm.
understand that, but like I don't really get the 7.3 plus 5.1 part. That I don't
Okay.
really understand.
Okay, so let's look at this. Do you see that they've given us that this line is 7,3?
Yes, ma'am.
So do you agree that this line over here is going to be 7,3?
Yes, ma'am. Because it's the two opposite sides are equal.
Mm-hmm. And do you agree that this little portion over here is also going to be 7,3?
Mm,
Think of if this was cut off here and this was a rectangle
mm-hmm,
again. Do you
mm-hmm.
see it would be equal sides?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Are you sure?
Yes, ma'am.
So that means this is going to be 7.3. Do you see that they've given us that this is 5.1?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you agree this is 5.1?
Yes, because still same opposite
Mhm.
sides.
And now again, imagine this was one big rectangle over here. Imagine we had this rectangle. Do you agree that this little part at the bottom would be 5.1 as well?
Yes, ma'am, because it's the opposite sides are equal.
Beautiful. So do you see that to get the entire length of this line, I actually can get it by adding 7.3 and
And
5.1.
5. Yes, ma'am.
Cool. So what we're actually saying is that it's 5.4 times 4 times 7.3 plus 5.1 is going to give me 12.4, I think. So what I'm actually saying is that the height over here is actually 12.4 centimeters. You with me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I see.
There we go. And I see Tyra is with us and Itandile, you seem to be following as well. So that's basically how we do it. You literally have to like drag measurements from one side to the other to be able to find these missing values. And now that we've got this, there we go, Maggie. I was just about to ask. I'm saying Maggie, Tyra, 267.84 centimeters, and it is going to be cubed because it is volume. So now what we just did is we calculated the volume of this rectangular prism. Let's now go and calculate the volume of prism number 2. It's still going to be length times base times height. And I'm saying base again. Length times breadth times height. And how did I divide it? I divided it by this. So let us say my length is green. Let's say my length is going to be this line. Let's say that my base is blue and my base is going, and oh, please, Simone, stop saying base. Let's say my breadth is going to be this blue line. And then let's use purple. Honestly, Shady, I feel dumb. And then my height is going to be this purple line, which is going to be obviously my height, as I said. Cool. So now let's see if I can figure out the measurements of these lines. So immediately, I'm seeing that this entire line is 14.5. But I don't want the entire line. I only want to know what is this portion to get my length. Okay. If I can figure out what this portion is, I know that this will be equal. Okay. So now we're trying to figure out what is this portion of the line. I see some hands. Let me just ask what's going on. Itandile, did you have a question or did you want to answer?
I want to answer, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also confused. But
Okay.
then, okay, ma'am, I just have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Of if, ma'am, we don't have, let's say, the length, do you make up a length for yourself, or do you get, or there'll always be a length?
There won't always be a length. As you see here, they haven't given us the length. But there will always be enough information for you to calculate the length.
Yes, sir.
So you're never going to make it up. You're going to calculate it. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You said you wanted to answer and ask a question, so do you still want to answer?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Let us go to Emithle. Emithle, did you have a question?
No, ma'am. It's from the previous question, ma'am.
Okay. And Shady, did you have a question?
No, ma'am, I wanted to answer.
Okay. Help me out here and maybe just correct me if I say base again.
Ma'am,
What is our length? How do I calculate this length over here?
you're gonna take 14.5 and minus it from. No, you're gonna take 5.4 and minus it from 14.5.
Okay, so my length is actually 14.5 minus 5.4. That is very well spotted. What we said is that if this up here is 5.4, it means this here is 5.4, and it means that this part over here is 5.4. If
Yes,
this
ma'am.
part is 5.4, then the difference is going to be what I'm looking for. And Tyra has so nicely given it to us that it's 9,1. So, Shady, back to you. We have our length. What is our base, which is the blue line?
The blue line would be 5.1.
Are you sure?
No, ma'am. Oh, 5.1 would be the height.
Uh-huh. So you've given me that. So we're looking still for our breadth. 5.1 is going to be our height. What is this blue line going to be?
4.
4. I was just about to say, look at the opposite side. The way we find these missing lines is whenever we're in a rectangle, always look at the opposite side, right? Because the opposite side is going to be equal.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you've done it beautifully that it is 4. Do this multiplication for me, Shady, and tell me what you're getting.
The answer is 185,64
185,64 centimeters.
centimeters cubed.
And stay with me to calculate now the volume of this entire shape, this entire block. What do we have to do?
Length times breadth times height.
No. So remember, we've already calculated number 1 and we've calculated number 2. How do I get the volume for this whole block now?
I'm not sure, ma'am.
So we're going to add them up. Okay. So stay with me. We have 267 that we calculated for the volume here. And then we have 185 that we've calculated for this volume. So do you see, to calculate the full volume, we're just going to add up our volumes.
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. Do it for me, please, and tell me what you're getting.
Four hundred and 53,48.
453,48 centimeters cubed. And now we are done. Happy, Shady?
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody else, are we happy? Give me some reactions before we jump into our brain break. I hope you're not sitting lost. I hope that you're going to ask me questions if you're lost. Cool. Let's do our brain break again. I'm not going to take too long on these. So if you are unaware about our brain breaks, we often do one must go, which really I have these 4 pictures and we debate about which one must go. But we've sort of switched it up and now we're doing one must stay. So we are debating about if we had to get rid of all but only keep one, what would we do? So Imithe and Uma are going to answer this. Imithe, what's your take?
Ma'am, so the other two, like chickens and gourds, aren't like here in the town that I stay in. So it's only Fit and Pay and Spa. So I would probably keep Spa, ma'am, because their stuff is fresh, ma'am, and also it's not as expensive as Fit and Pay, like where I am.
I was about to say, I don't know because I have seen some spas that have actually really, really like affordable stuff. And then I've also seen spas that are selling like one piece of chicken for like 30 Rand. And I was like, what is happening? So I don't know. I don't know about spa. Spa needs to like be consistent. But okay, I get it. If
Yes,
you
ma'am,
don't have a Woolworths
definitely.
and chickens, you don't need them anyways.
Thank you,
Let's hear
ma'am.
what Uma will say. Thanks for answering in museum. Uma, what are you keeping?
Um, Checkers, the iconic 60-60 from the Rugby World Cup, man.
I love the ad. That ad was so cute. Did you see the ad, Uma, with the rugby?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super cute. Also, Checkers has the little shop. I love things like that. It's so cute. It's so cute. So I get it. Checkers, yeah, Checkers is cool. I feel like Pick and Pay is so generic. Pick and Pay, I don't like Pick and Pay. Anyways, next one: Transformers, Fast and Furious, Star Wars, Harry Potter. Personally, I've not even watched Harry Potter. Well, I've watched like a few, but not all. Star Wars, I've never watched. Transformers and Fast and Furious. Oh, I don't know which one I'd keep. I would think Transformers. I'm gonna go with Transformers. Leah, what would you do?
Hey, ma'am, this is actually a good question, ma'am. Because, ma'am, I've watched all the Transformers. I've watched all the Fast and Furiouses so far. Star Wars, ma'am, I've never watched it. Well, I have. I watched two movies. And Harry Potter, I've watched the first one. But, ma'am, I'm gonna keep... This is tough. I'm gonna keep Fast and Furious. Definitely.
Everybody's saying that, but I feel like Fast and Furious is so dumb now.
Yeah, that's true, ma'am. Like, ma'am, like that ending, ma'am, in Fast 9. Wait, no,
Right?
Fast 10. Ma'am, that
And we're
ending,
still
ma'am.
waiting for the next movie.
Imagine,
Like,
ma'am.
what? No, no,
Yeah, ma'am.
they're not serious.
Yeah, ma'am, they're not serious now. But back in the days, ma'am, Fast and Furious was on its prime.
I agree. I
Yeah.
feel like Transformers though, I can still watch all the Transformers and I don't cringe as much as I do with Fast and Furious. So that's why I'm going with Transformers.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Leah. For Unati, what's your take?
Ma'am, I would keep Transformers because Fast and Furious
Thank
doesn't.
you.
It's not as nice as it used to be.
Right?
Yeah.
I agree. Also, Megan Fox in Transformers is just like top tier, you know?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So Unati and I are on the same page. We're picking Transformers. And then last one. Let us take Shady. Imitha, I do see your hand, but I think you answered the first one. So Shady's gonna go first.
Ma'am, I would keep winter because winter fashion is on top.
I feel you, but like the fashion, fine, but the actual weather, Shady, is it
Oh, but
worth
it's
it?
nice. It's so cozy.
No.
You see the blankets. Oh, winter's nice.
You say that, but you have to go to school.
Oh, well, I can wear a scarf. Yeah, I can wear a scarf.
Okay, Shady, you are gonna suffer for the fashion. I respect it.
Yes, ma'am.
Winter must stay. And then I don't know who to get. You guys both answered. Is there anybody who didn't answer that wants to answer for the last one, so I don't have to pick between Itandila and Imise? No, somebody. Um, Unati, you also answered. uh, let's go with I don't know. Tyra, do you want to answer? Do you want to answer, Tyra, as an honorary new member? There we go. Tyra, answer for us. If you don't want to unmute, you can just talk. I mean, you can just type, but talking is best. What do you say?
Ma'am, I say winter because it is kind of cozy.
Oh my gosh, no, it's not. You're crazy. That is crazy. I
Ma'am,
like
but it
have to go to
is.
school. Are you telling me winter is cozy at school?
Yeah, like you can take a blanket, and some schools have like heaters in the class. So,
I mean, fair enough. Fair enough. I don't know. You guys are choosing winter, and I just
Oh,
can't.
ma'am, would you rather sweat in school? Because it's gonna be so hot in summer. So would you rather sweat?
Yeah, I don't
Oh
know.
my gosh.
I don't know. I don't know. I'll pick autumn. Like autumn can stay. Autumn is in the middle, you know.
But ma'am, we are sweating even if it's cold. There's no point. We are sweating still.
Actually, you're right. Guys. So we're back into maths. There's like 3 minutes left. Oh, I don't know because I don't have my pen. I'm going to just show you guys this one and what we would have done, and I want to do the next one with us. So this is a almost like a trapezoid, rather. So what we would have done is we would have broken this up into a triangular prism number one, triangular prism number two, and then a rectangular prism in the middle. You would have calculated the volume for each one, and yeah, you would have added all of them up and come to your total volume. So this is something you guys can maybe practice on your own, take a screenshot if you need to now. There's that. I'm going to scroll past and let's do this. Yeah, let's do this before we go. So here they've asked us to find the volume of the shaded area. And so what this looks like is it looks like a box, and then it's almost like they've cut out a cylinder inside the box. So this is different because normally we had two shapes put together. In this question, we have one shape, and then they've sort of cut out another shape from it. So it's the very same concept, but all that we do is we calculate the area of our first, not the area, we calculate the volume of our first shape. We calculate the volume of the shape that's been cut out, and then we minus the volume of the shape that's been cut out. So let's look at what I am talking about. So if I want to calculate the volume of this rectangular prism, it's going to be length times breadth times height, which is going to be 16 by 16 by 20. So 16 times 16 times 20. Let me know, you guys, what are we getting for the volume of this rectangular prism? 16 times 16. That was a hand. I don't know whose hand was up first. Let's see. Yes, Shady.
It's 5,120.
Thank you. Are you staying to help me answer the next one, or are we done? Or rather, are you done?
Thank you, ma'am.
Cool. And that's not centimeters, that is inches. Okay. So that's the volume of my rectangular prism. I now need the volume of my cylinder. Okay. And the volume of my cylinder, remember, it's going to be the area of my base. Thank you. It's going to be the area of my base, which is a circle. So area of a circle is pi r squared multiplied by the height. So pi times my radius, which is 5 inches, squared times my big height of the cylinder is 20. Plug this into your calculators, you guys, and let me know, what are you getting there? It is going to be pi multiplied by 5 squared multiplied by 20. Yes, immediately.
Gosh, it's 1,570,80.
Comma 80. Okay, so you rounded off to 2 decimals. Cool. That is correct. And now, thank you for that, Imise. And I do see all your other hands. I do know that you guys probably did have the answers as well. And now, finally, the volume of the shaded area is going to be, because remember, my shaded area does not include the cylinder. So it's going to be the 5,120 minus this cylinder that's been cut out. And tell me, what are we getting there to end off our lesson? Minus 1570.8. I've got my answer. Itandile, did you have the answer?
Yes, ma'am. It's 3,549.2.
Thank you. And that's going to be inches. Not cute. There we go. And that is that for class today, guys. Tyra, did you have a question?
No, ma'am. I wanted to give the answer.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Do you have the same answer?
Yes, ma'am.